Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Today's video, I'm continuing my series on ranking every single Pixar movie, and I am getting kind of towards the end of the list. I got probably 2 more videos left. This video, I'm going to do 7 through 4 on my list, so definitely top tier Pixar movies here. So see what they are here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, hope everybody's doing well here on a Monday afternoon. It's been pretty good weather here in Kansas, even though it was storming this morning. It's still pretty good, 70 degrees or so outside, so it's nice getting to not have to wear a jacket all the time and getting to wear shorts and get to really enjoy the weather more. Anyway, so yeah, I'm here continuing my countdown, ranking every single Pixar movie, 26 movies in total. And I'm down to number 7 through number 4 on my list. So we're getting to some of the best Pixar movies of all time. And I've been a big Pixar fan since '95, of course, when I was 12 years old and Toy Story came out. And I've been watching like every single one, most of them in the theaters up till recently. I haven't been going to theaters much. Of course, now I got Disney Plus. I can watch them all at Disney Plus instead of having to go out to the theaters much. But yeah, so these are absolutely incredible movies. Definitely top tier. So we're going to go with number 7. Number 7 on my list is The Incredibles, the very first movie. I have Incredibles 2 at number 9. This one's number 7, so they're both pretty much neck and neck. I really enjoy both movies quite a lot, but I had to go with this one. Definitely one I feel like was part of that huge run of really just amazing movies that Pixar did. This was the first one by Brad Bird, though. Brad Bird came over. He wasn't one of the original kind of Pixar guys, like, you know, Andrew Stanton and Pete Docter, and some of those guys are kind of some of the original crew that did some of the first movies. But Brad Bird kind of came over, and he's done, I think, I want to say he's done maybe 3 Pixar movies, I want to say. They've all been huge hits. And the only thing I know about him is he did Iron Giant before this, and that was not a huge hit, I don't think, but it's definitely critically favored. And I know a lot of people love that movie, Iron Giant. So Brad Bird definitely had a good reputation coming in, and just hit it out of the park with this first one, The Incredibles, which is somewhat groundbreaking in the sense that it was kind of the first Pixar movie that had like all human characters, because a lot of Pixar movies had, you know, toys or monsters or fish or ants or whatever, you know, usually were something non-human. But this is one where, and human, from what I heard, human characters are always kind of difficult, or have been difficult for animators. Something about the hair, it's hard to do hair, I think, is one of the things, and I can't remember what else, but it may be clothing and how it all, you know, moves together. There's something about human beings, it's hard to quite get their face right or something. And even though this does have a little cartoonish look to it, it definitely, though, was really good, you know, at, you know, this human world and portraying them. It's also kind of the first like superhero animated movie, it feels like, where we kind of showed how to do superheroes in animated form. And I like it because, I don't know, if it's almost a parody of, like, you know, superhero movies. It's these, you know, world where superheroes exist and villains exist. And I like how it starts that way, where we get kind of that backstory. And of course, we learn that then stupid idiot lawyers get involved and superheroes start getting sued. You know, and that happens a lot, I guess, in superhero movies. There's always like, you saved the world, but you did cause some damage. And it's like, who cares, you know? But of course, lawyers are just evil, corrupt, you know, people, and they get superheroes banned, and all of a sudden we don't have superheroes. And so we kind of follow this, the Incredible family, whatever, Elastigirl, and there are 3 kids. One girl turns invisible. I forget, the boy is super fast, and then Jack is the baby, which we don't get his powers really until Incredibles 2, which is interesting. And of course, Mr. Incredible is super strong and kind of invincible. So we get this family of superheroes, but they have to pretend to be normal. And so it's a very interesting premise overall. I really enjoyed the whole overall premise. All the characters are great voice acting. I think my favorite character is Frozone. I absolutely love Frozone. Samuel Jackson doing that character. And I could use more Frozone, in fact. I think my favorite part of the whole movie is, of course, at the end, they get into this big fight with this big, like, robot thing. and Frozone kind of gets involved, and there's this great scene where he's looking for his suit, and he's talking to his wife, "Where's my suit? Where's my super suit?" And she's like, "You're not leaving." He's like, "They need me. It's for the greater good." And the wife says, "I'm the greatest good you'll ever have." And it's absolutely hilarious scene. Give me my super suit, woman. Absolutely love that scene, what Frozone does. But yeah, the action is so good. That's what I think really puts it up maybe against most. It's a good storyline, great villain. I think one of the top villains in Pixar, Buddy or whatever, I forget what he calls himself, but a really kind of evil, character who you kind of get his motivation though, and how he becomes a villain is actually really well done, I think. And I think overall, yeah, just it's a really good superhero story and origin kind of thing, and I love it's a family dynamic that they have superpowers and they all start using them, and yeah, the action at the end is so good, so well choreographed for an animated movie. It definitely shows you can do action very well in animation, and I think Brad Bird really showed that here. But yeah, overall, just an absolutely great movie. Definitely one of my favorites here at number 7, The Incredibles. I see a lot of people have this maybe number 1, which I don't blame them. I really liked Incredible, the whole series. I wish they do. If they do a third one, I'd be pretty happy, but we'll see. Because there's a big gap between Incredibles 1 and 2, which I never understood. Okay, so number 6, another absolute classic, I think, that has to be on anybody's top 10 list, and that's Finding Nemo. Another one that I saw in the theater and just totally blown away. The animation was so incredible. The underwater stuff, we hadn't seen that great animation before at that time. Pixar was really pushing the boundaries, I think, of animation, and still works today. Even though that came out, I don't know, back in 2002 or something, whenever that came out, probably 20 years ago or more. But yeah, it's another just Pixar, like I said, was hitting out of the park. This is kind of an early Pixar movie with Andrew Stanton, I think his first time taking over, and he's made some really, really great Pixar movies. As a director anyways, and he's also been writing a lot of the Pixar movies early on, so he's a great writer, great director of animation. He hasn't done anything lately, unfortunately. Like, I'd love to see him do more in animation, but yeah, this is just a great story of father-son relationship that's estranged, kind of, because the father's too overbearing of the son. Son goes missing or gets kind of kidnapped by a human, and then he has to go try to find him. Finds a fish named Dory, played by Ellen DeGeneres, and they have a great duo. One of the great things about the movie is that whole duo between the two, because the main guy, I say main guy, main fish, he's clownfish. He's very kind of grouchy and likes to yell a lot and can get after people, fishes or whatever. And then Dory's a very kind of sweet character, but of course she's kind of dumb in some senses. She's forgetful, so she always has that kind of comedic thing of always forgetting things, which they play very well. Her short-term memory, a lot of funny scenes. Dory's definitely my favorite character. That's why they made a sequel called Finding Dory, because she was definitely like the highlight of the whole movie. But overall, just absolutely amazing casting throughout. Like when Nemo, he ggets kidnapped by a dentist or whatever and gets put in a fishbowl with other fishes, and we get all these great, like, Willem Dafoe's in there and Brad Garrett and a lot of different, we get introduced to all these new characters, and their dynamic works really well. So there's that dynamic of them trying to figure out how to escape that fishbowl or fish tank, and then you have the main guy, now I'm forgetting his name, with Dory, trying to find them, and they come across the turtles. That whole scene is really funny. But yeah, it's a really great story. It's got this great emotional moment between father and son. And it's a great father and son kind of story, I would say. And just a really, really funny movie. It's definitely one I quote all the time, like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. I don't know. I have that in my head a lot of times. But yeah, just a really great, great movie. Finding Nemo at number 6 on my list. All right, number 5 is actually another Andrew Stanton movie. I have Wall-E, and this one I got on Blu-ray myself. Yeah, I understand this is, I don't know if he only did this and Wall-E. Both, I know Wall-E won Best Oscar, I think, for Best Anime Movie. Finding Nemo might have. I don't know if it was around the time that they started doing that. But Wall-E just a little bit above Finding Nemo, both are amazing. Wall-E is just kind of an interesting story. This robot named Wall-E who is on kind of a planet, Earth, where humans have all left, and he's still doing what he was made to do, which was to compact trash into little cubes to try to clean up because the planet Earth has come too polluted, I guess, with trash and stuff, and it's uninhabitable. So all the humans left on a ship, and they've been up in orbit for like a really long time. So all the humans are like really fat and lazy because they have everything served to them because of technology and robots and stuff. And but most of it at the beginning is Wall-E as he's by himself, and it's very funny somehow, and I love the Wall-E character. Somehow he doesn't talk, but yet he's absolutely adorable, and I just absolutely you fall in love with him right away as a character. And I love the whole first part of the movie, or say the first like almost 20 minutes of the movie or something. It's almost a silent film where it's really not any talking. It's him going through garbage and stuff, but they do some funny bits. But we also see him go back to where he's like living, and he turns on he only has one movie, and it's Hello Dolly. They keep playing this one song, and he loves this movie because it's like the only thing he has. He doesn't have companionship, and yet because he's a robot, he still has like this need for romance and companionship. And in the movie, two people hold hands, the girl and the guy to hold hands, and so he kind of longs to hold hands with the female, I guess, female robot, if you want to say. None of them are males or females, but yet Wall-E's definitely a male, and then Eva, who comes in, is definitely a female, because the way they make Wall-E, this really boxy type, robot, has more of a male look to him, while Eva is very smooth and round, and so has almost like a feminine side to it, and they have kind of feminine voice and male voice, so it somehow works as this romantic storyline where he sees this other robot, Eva, who comes down to see if there's any life on Earth, and falls in love with this robot and longs to hold her hand, even though they're robots. And yet it's just the sweetest love story I've ever seen. And it's robots. And it's like, wow, I never thought I could feel this much out of robots, but they do such an amazing job. I mean, you just absolutely love Wall-E, and you just kind of feel for the robot in almost a human sense. Even though he's a robot, he has these human, emotions a little bit in him. And even though he can't talk yet, you see all his emotions in his eyes and the way they move and all this, and all he says is Eva and Wall-E. That's all you get mostly out of him. But of course, then he gets onto the ship, and then there's a whole storyline there. But the main thing is the whole love story between them two. And when he gets to hold her hand, it's like this amazing moment. The ending is one of the best endings to any movie. I mean, I absolutely love the way they did the ending. It's such a good, happy ending, story. And just absolutely love Wall-E and this whole idea of, trying to find love and being lonely and all that. I think works really well in this movie. So Wall-E, number 5, top 5 Pixar movie. It's at times it's almost number 1 for me. Like I think when I first saw it, it definitely was like maybe my favorite at the time. It's gone down to 5, but still it's a top 5 movie for me. So that's Wall-E, number 5. And the last movie I'm going to talk about, number 4, it's the original. How can I leave it off this list? It's why we have Pixar, and that is Toy Story, the very first Toy Story. Like I said, 95, saw it in the theater. Absolutely loved it in the theater when I saw it. It was groundbreaking, first computer 3D kind of animation that we've seen. Of course, we only had 2D animation up to that point. And it kind of showed that you can make because I think there's probably someone who would say, oh, because they made shorts. They first, of course, made a bunch of shorts in the style, but it was like, this idea, oh, can you make an actual live action, full length movie? Like, it can't be done. In fact, I'm sure people at Disney Animation was like, oh, it's just a fad or something. Like, you can't make, which is funny because they said the same thing to Walt Disney when he said, hey, let's make a full-length animation movie, which has never been done back in 1937 with Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. And people said, oh, that will never work. And, of course, Walt Disney showed it and made, billions of dollars through animation movies. And so it's weird that this kind of broke away from Disney and said, hey, let's do something new. And everybody was kind of like, no, 2D animation is the way to go. And so it's weird how some are like against, the technology is always going to get better. There's always going to be something that's going to push forward, that genre. And sometimes people don't get on board, which is weird because it's like you have to be ready to adapt to change. And anyway, so Pixar really started all that. Was Toy Story all started all that, I should say. And still to this day, it's still such a great movie. And when I enjoy watching, I've seen it so many times and still enjoy it. Obviously, the voice acting incredible. You got Tom Hanks is my favorite actor probably of all time, playing Woody, so good. And then Tim Allen's his voice is so good for Buzz. It's hard to do that character without him, even though they tried it in Lightyear and didn't work. But a lot of great side characters. Don Rickles is absolutely hilarious as the potato head, who's always kind of grouchy and making fun of people. So it felt so right for Don Rickles. And I love Wallace Shawn as the Rex, who's kind of this very anxiety-ridden dinosaur toy. So he's so funny. So I love all the characters, all the personalities work so well together, and all these different toy designs I love. And I think what I love about the movie so much is just the premise of toys are alive and they have their own community when we're not around. They have meetings and like Woody's kind of the leader of the of Andy's toys. And he does lectures and they do all this stuff like a normal community would do. You know, let's get ready for his birthday's coming up. Let's get ready for that. Let's get ready for moving day. And it's just it's a really funny premise that works well. And then the story is so great with Buzz coming in and this whole idea of Buzz being this different toy that's more popular than Woody, and Woody dealing with the jealousy of a new toy coming in being more popular. And then also the whole storyline of Buzz Lightyear thinking that he's the real Buzz Lightyear and not realizing he's just a toy, and there's a bunch of Buzz Lightyears out there. And the best part of the movie to me is when, I'm spoiling the movie a little bit, but hopefully you've seen it, when he finds out that he's just a toy, and they play that song by Randy Newman, I believe. Of course, great musical score by Randy Newman. And that song, "You've Got a Friend in Me," so iconic to Pixar and one of the greatest. Probably should have won for best song. But I love that moment where he's singing that song and Buzz is trying to fly and he realizes he can't. He's not really Buzz Lightyear. It's a very emotional moment, kind of, where he just this moment where he discovers that he's not who he thought he was and it's all a lie. It was just a great moment for that character and for the storyline. But yeah, so the story is just absolutely great. It's funny. Love the dynamic between Woody and Buzz. It works so well as this comedy duo. And it's just a good script that there's not a slow moment. It's wonderfully paced from beginning to end. The storyline just moves along at such, from one scene to the other. It's just like one of the most perfect written scripts I think out there. If that's a word, I say it's a really wonderfully written script. I put up there as one of the great scripts probably ever written. And then the very end scene when they're trying to get back to out of the neighbor's kid who blows up toys. He tries to get out of his room, and trying to get back to the moving van because the family's moving. And that whole scene is just done so wonderfully well. And there's things that happen. You're like, oh no, they're going to make it, kind of thing. And it's just choreographed so incredibly well. Yeah, it's still a movie that I enjoy going to. And even though it's the original and the animation is not as good as some of these newer ones, it's still one of the best. And I'm such a huge fan of Toy Story. There's 4 Toy Story movies, and I've talked about Toy Story 3 at number 11, Toy Story here at number 4. I got 2 more Toy Story. There's 3 more movies left on my list, and I still have 2 more Toy Story to talk about. Just to tell you, Toy Story is like the greatest franchise, one of the top franchises of all time for me. All 4 movies I really like anyway. So yeah, it's definitely one of those, top tier movies in the Pixar. So at number 4, I got Toy Story. Anyway, so yes, that's the end of this list. I got my top 3 next. I probably hopefully get that done next week and present you the end of my list and my top 3 favorite Pixar movies. So please feel free to comment. What do you think about these 4 movies, or what would be in your top 7? I'd love to read those comments, and thank you to everybody that's listing their movies along with me. I enjoy seeing those and talking back with you guys and girls. And yeah, so thank you all for that, and thank you to all my for everybody that liked the video and watched this video, and thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate y'all. I hope you have a good day.